Welcome back to Banished. My name is Tobal. From last episode, we're recovering on the shortage of tools. Everyone is starting to stock up from their friendly neighborhood blacksmith, who is kind of pumping out these iron tools as quick as possible. So let's, I guess since nothing is absolutely on fire at the moment, other than food, I guess food is pretty short still. Now, we're a little short on labor. We had to spread everyone around pretty hardcore because we've got, someone making fuel, someone turning iron ore into iron, blacksmith, etc. So we really had to kind of cut into our labor pool a bit. We're still really short on food. I was hoping, though, see how 3 of the fisher persons don't have tools? I'm curious that if and when they eventually upgrade their tools back to normal, we might be in a better position in food terms, because we might be producing much more, faster food, or it's either getting more food per gather or doing it quicker. So I'm not sure which one it actually is, but hopefully, here's to hoping that that's going to be a resolution. Also, one of our hunters doesn't have tools. So really, the most important people right now don't have tools. Also, someone mentioned last episode in the comments that I might have gotten the circle information wrong. What this actually might indicate is how far people will go to the market to get their food. So consider the circle the service area of the market. So they'll have people, all the housing will definitely be inside of the circle. So hopefully everyone will come to the central market to get what they need. Eventually I might even drop down, like I mentioned, I might replace, say, this stockpile with another market of either similar design or maybe a custom one. But again, part of that decision making will be kind of how big the radius is and how many people can actually come get their food. So we're trading, we're coming trading off 0 and having like 20 food at a time. So not a lot of stockpiled food, but one of them wound up getting some tools. So hopefully all this will be helping us out. What else can we put down to help with food? We've got a gathering hut, which gathers, I think, at a much higher rate, but we don't have that many people. Well, we actually do have 3 people working on it. It's really surprising we just don't have better results yet. It could be, some of it could be the climate, but some of it just might be the quality, and I guess, we do have a lot of separate houses, so that's a lot of people who are trying to gather food and stockpile food for themselves. So they're all competing a bit against each other. Let's see, our firewood supply is going down a bit. We might wind up wanting to look into putting down another sawmill. Oh, does that extend over the road? I don't like that. I'll survive. Somehow, though, I will survive. Or we could just switch this over to help with firewood temporarily out of logs. So they're making, they're basically making firewood out of raw logs along with the woodcutter hut, which is not as efficient as the sawmill, but we wouldn't have to spend time building a brand new sawmill. We'll keep that on for a minute. What else could we wind up doing? We've got a ton of stone. I could try killing this stockpile so that they'd have to transfer things over, but that's going to take up all of our laborers' time, and I think I need them to... Well, what are they doing right now? They're probably building the road. Let's take down the builder and add them into the laborer pool. We don't have any new buildings, right? We pretty much have built everything we needed. I didn't want to kill that. Come back. Let's see. Our tailor is out of goods. That's right. We're out of leather for the tailor. We wound up getting more laborers. We're starting to have students graduate. Either that was a student or that was a kind of a child who was past the point of joining the school. I believe there's a point where if a child is a certain age... No, it should just be 10, right? So, like, if the school is available at 10, they go to become a student. But if not, they become a laborer. So perhaps it's one of those things that if you build a school after they're already past the age of 10, they would already become a laborer. So there's no real way. It's either going to be they're going to be a laborer or they're going to be a school, a student. We have more children getting born. I wish we could see our overall population. There's something from geography that I really like the kind of the population graph, the pyramids that show you each bar like represents, this is the 10, 11 to 20 age group, this is the 21 to 29 age group, or 30 age group. It helps you get a visual of how your population is spread out. If you have too many of old people, that's going to be a challenge later on because you're not going to have as many youth to replace that labor and take care of the seniors. We have a couple of... It's not people, it's just the houses that need food. We wound up having this house need food earlier in last episode too. So why don't we grab a couple people from the labor tree, excuse me, a few folks from the laborer side, and we'll dump them into, maybe let's do the hunting cabin. He probably went to the other hunting cabin, he or she. Now we could add down another fishing hut, I think. Now does it... I believe it lowers their efficiency by a bit. I just don't remember, like, if we put both of these together, does it completely nullify them, or does it just make them slightly less effective? Not entirely sure. Or we could do one more gatherer. I think... it's such a trade-off. Where are all of the herbalists? Maybe the problem is housing, actually. Let me look at that. Before I make too many more decisions, let's look at housing. You're living down the street, you're walking down the street too, and if you're cold, you're having to go all the way down there to heat up again. Okay, let's try to add a few more houses in here. Maybe that might help with some of the problems we're having where people are taking a long time not doing their job, basically. So we've got 2 houses here. Let's put down... We've got 4 houses. Let's add down another house here. And we do have a lot of buildings now on this edge, so let's drop down a couple more for folks who are in the blacksmith industry. My hand kind of stuttered there, so let's go back and drop the wood house down here. Okay, so those houses will get built up. Now, I'll wait for the laborers to haul all of the building materials there first, and then we'll take care of it. What else can we do? We've got one person going to food. Do we have any other water sources nearby? We've got one way over here. That's not going to help out too much. I guess we could just keep adding people to the hunting job for the moment, and then maybe the next laborer that I get, I'll add them into the herbalist profession. Or sorry, the gatherer's hut. Boy, we're so close. We've not been able to get a stockpile, and it's really dangerous because, as you can see here, this house hasn't had food for a while. Now, the people inside the house aren't starving yet. They're just... They start to have... It's one of those things that I guess they don't have any food in their inventory, so they wouldn't have gone and eaten in the house anymore. So if that continues to go on, they wind up getting hungrier and hungrier. So we really need to get a stockpile for people like this to come get their goods. Here's to hoping that the new houses will fix some of the issue. I built really wide, you know, really decentralized, which is probably causing some problems. What else? Where do you guys have to go? Now, you work pretty close to home. It's just down the street. That's not too bad of a separation here. This is a problem. The person who lives and works at the fishery that's 10 miles away. I wonder if I could reset the jobs here. What if I take away all the jobs? That wouldn't do anything because it'd just be the same 4 people, right? We don't have a big enough pool for that to make much of a difference. Okay, here's an idea. Let's do this. Let's pause and kill some jobs here. That's all the blacksmiths are jobless. We don't want to stop that. We can stop the herbalist. We'll stop the farmer, or sorry, the fisher persons. This might be okay. We'll see how this works out, and we'll do the gathering hut. So I want to prioritize the best housing for all the workers. Now that's what I guess I don't know. If when you're choosing a job, so let's pick the first person who comes in here. I just increased. Now we have a huge pool of laborers, right? So where are you coming from? That house right there. Okay, so did we just get 4 fisher persons all from the same house? Well, where else are you guys coming from then? Do I have to wait a minute? Okay, so there's 2 people here. I wonder if they're moving around at all. So they're really close to the place of work. That's good. Let's do, let's actually do this. Let's do, you know what? Let's max it out. Let's do 6 complete. We'll do 3 or 4 completely. Where are you all living at now? So you are still living far away. You are having to live far away too. You guys are not, though. Okay, I can live with that a little better. Why don't we go and see, let's see, we've got more tools, so let's keep these jobs idle for a minute. Except for maybe, what's our fuel situation like? 78 furnace fuel? Let's have the smeltery work for a bit. And we'll kind of micromanage the blacksmith and the fuel refinery if we need to. Now we have 4 laborers. Let's go ahead and add the herbalist job back. We'll add in the central market person as well. And we should be back to close to where we were. But now, in theory, we have people working at the fishery that are much, much closer to home. So perhaps if they have to go home to eat, they don't have to go, you know, that's one of them. One of the workers had to go all the way back here to go to their house to pick up food or to get warm. But now they're really, really close. So we'll see if that helps out at all. Same thing with the hunting cabin and the gatherer's hut, although one of them lives way down here. We'll see. I think that might have been some of the issue, though. Let's speed things back up again, see how we're reacting. I'm a little worried about that one house that keeps having food problems. We don't have a symbol for anyone starving, though. It's just an indicator that this house does not have a stockpile of food. Are you all... You're both working on firewood, right? Making me nervous. I really don't want to lose everyone early on. I don't want everyone to die this quick. We had a ton of leather, actually, too, which was nice. We had leather up here. I think it's already been transferred into coats. Yeah, it's already been pushed into coats, but as soon as the coats are going up for sale, so to speak, where are those coats at once they're done? Did you drop it off in this barn? So they went to this barn, and then the person from the shop will go to the barn and grab the goods and bring it back. From the market, I mean. Alright. We're still on the edge of food. Is there anything we can do to help this out further? I don't really think so. What? No, hang on. You just dropped off and picked up. What's your job? Interesting. So, you're a fisher person, unless you're bringing it to your house. That might have been what they did. So as soon as they finished their workday, they dropped their food off, and then they immediately picked the food up and took it back to their home. That does seem to be what they just did. I thought they were going to pick it up and drop it off at, like, the market themselves, which would have been a bit weird. Our children who are in school should, hopefully, be moving into the age of labor soon. Why don't we put down... There's a building that helps you see your town stats, and I believe it's this town arrival. It does not let you accept immigrants. It's just something that helps you keep track of numbers and things like that. I believe the Colonial Hall and the Town Hall are the ones that help you with census and to allow migrants. Yeah. Hey, for a second we had 200 food up. That's really nice. Maybe that is going to help out overall. How's our hunters doing? Still bone meal. Not really a whole lot coming over from this hunting cabin. You know, if they're not having a ton of luck, I might want to instead take down one of these hunting cabins and replace it with the gatherer's hut. Because I believe you wind up getting better results with the gatherer's hut no matter what. You get more materials unless you just happen to be in an area that is really heavy with animals. Now, I'm also just kind of randomly clicking and not seeing anything. It doesn't necessarily mean they're not getting anything overall. I wonder if there's a detailed view. Let's go to some stat windows. Don't we have... I thought you can get information. No, we don't have a... It's a help reference. This is the colonial charter thing. Reserve of food is low. We know that. I don't see a way for you to do it. Maybe we need another building. I thought there was a way to basically see your stockpile, and I think that's probably one of the governing offices. Or this town arrival, but I think this is more for census data. The town hall is probably going to give us, or the colonial hall, one of them should give us more information about our goods, our trade goods, what our production is like. Something like that. It's been a minute. I don't really remember how many, what the management tools are. So we'll just have to explore a bit. Oh, this is cute. I don't think I looked at the New England houses. Oh, they're so cute. What about it? Do you guys have a thing that'll let me go over the... No, you don't. Oh, that's cool. We can actually just have like a corner gazebo or covered area instead of having that type of house that sits here in the corner. We could actually just make it an open space. That's kind of neat. What is this large residence? This is kind of nice too. I love these models. It's so cool. And honestly, I've not even really scratched the surface of how many mods there are out there in the world for Banished. People are really, really creative. Okay, so we've got a lot of our houses ready to go because we've left our laborers to work. So let's split up the laborers to one builder, one laborer. It almost looks like all of our houses are ready to expand, which is great. More housing options, more people moving into houses on their own, having more children. We do have a lot of kids that are waiting to get their own place to live. But like I said last episode, this will be today's episode will be one of those things where we are continuing to expand our housing, trying to keep that fine balance of food production and survival. I believe, though, with the next batch of kids, with the first batch of kids that become laborers, we're going to do a lot better with food because we're going to work on expanding the housing, and then I'm going to drop down our first farming areas. I believe I'd like to do that towards the end of this episode. Speaking of that, where do we want to have the farming areas? Maybe, what was this going to be, our industrial zone? There is an option. I think there's a mod. I wonder if I can find it here real quick. Not a mod, sorry. There's an information panel, or a calculator, rather, on a website that I think it's called Banished Calculator. And it tells you what the most efficient size of a field will be. Now, but the thing is, though, aren't we running the Better Farms, or which one was that? The, I have to find it here. Oh, we aren't running Better Fields. So this should all be vanilla. Yeah, this should all be vanilla information. So, if we make a, what is this? If I, yeah, 8x15 would give 840 food per worker, and be, yes, that's the most efficient field. 840 food was 8x15. So let's see if we can get that size there. Crop fields here. Where would this fit? Oh, this would be perfect. It would fit. We could actually do a lot of individual crop fields right behind the housing area. And this could eventually get replaced to be some basic buildings like the butchery or something like that. So why don't we try doing... Yeah, we'll put down a couple of 8x15 fields. I will try to maybe have some decorations between them so that we can, you know, make it almost feel like a real field. Part of the problem, I think, with this, with Banished, is that the fields look a little bit awkward, and the sizes don't always make sense. But let's go ahead and close, pause 2 of them. And I'm doing this in preparation for when we eventually get more kids becoming laborers. That way we can actually assign them over as farmers. I believe we have seeds, too. Can I see what kind of seeds we have? I don't believe I can tell that. Again, more information I think that's in the town, either the town arrival or the other resource, the town hall. Our numbers are looking better for food. I almost want to put a hunter's cabin just to kill these stupid deer that are hanging out in the middle of town. No, just hook a left. Hook a left. Yes, you should die now. Go get him. Let's watch this. Let's see if we can get the hunt. The sweet action of the hunt is on. No sweet action of the hunt. I think they walk up to it and, like, pet it, and it dies. Oh, well. We're missing out on some hot hunting action here, but alas, it is not to be. We got 2 more laborers. 3 more laborers. That's nice. Laborers, I'm going to split those up into 1 more builder because we have a lot of buildings that are waiting to get constructed. Our houses are coming in now. Nice. This should start spreading out some of the labor distribution so that they're able to live closer to where they work. I almost want to trash some of these hunting cabins. I don't know if they're doing it for us or not. I'll wait a little bit. We'll see if that can even out. I do see some venison, so we are getting some meat from hunting. The nice thing about hunting is I believe it comes in when you actually get a kill, it winds up giving you, I think, 100 venison per, you know, creature. So it is quite a rewarding, you know, hunt, or a rewarding food investment or labor investment in terms of how much it's returning to you for food. What else can we calculate? I believe we can also calculate the most efficient field size for animals as well. So something like 10 by 20. 10 by 20 I think should have a... I'm not really sure how to calculate the animal stuff. I've not messed around too much with that. That's 10 by 20 is the size, the recommended size for some of the pastures here. Let's just put down a 10 by 20 and we'll see how many animals it needs in it. Where did I start this farm at? Right about this row. And how many spaces away? 2 from the road. So we'll leave 2 spaces here. We'll do a 10 by 20 if we can fit it. We can. Alright, so we'll drop a standard pasture here. We'll let that get built out. And we'll see if we can't start pasturing our friendly neighborhood llama horses. Sheep, whatever these are. And the sound is... I don't even know what sound they make, to be honest with you. I have no idea. We should start seeing a lot more children in the next year because a lot of people are starting to move into their new homes. So you'll see some babies get born. We'll have a bit of a baby boom. You got to be careful about that. If you wind up expanding in batches, you'll have children in batches, and then you'll start seeing food reduction in batches. That might, I mean, maybe that's better. That way you know what to expect, rather than just have a slow, continual expansion, and the food problem sneaks up on you a bit. We've got tons of iron ready now from the iron smeltery. We still have some tools left, and we have furnace fuel left, so I don't think we need to worry about these jobs yet. As I mentioned last episode, I do think I want to put down a hospital, just to proactively have this ready to go in the event that we wind up getting a horrible, horrible disease come through. So we'll drop down the hospital here in this little section. Feathers, duck meat, venison, starting to look a little bit better on our supplies overall. I think that means that our central market person's pretty busy. Let's add one more job, one more person from the labor pool to that. We can also need to give ourselves a farmer, so we are going to plant turnips. Go crazy, turnip guy. Why aren't you working? Do we not have... There we go. They took a second to get everything squared away. So, that should take us a while to get going, but that should greatly help with our food problem. I don't believe we can get more seeds until we trade and see a merchant come through that might have other available options for us. We could put down a trade dock. I don't know. I might put it down to have it. Oh, what is this? A resource depot. Adjustable storage for your available range of products and resources. Okay. Oh, cool. It's like a... I think it's a backup. So you always have a certain amount of resources. Maybe that's so you can trade them away. We might look into that down the road. It only releases resources into your town when you decrease the number of items manually. Cool. We can do a trade buildings. Yeah, that's what we want. A trading post, I believe, is the... Okay, this is the one on the water. I believe there's an overland one as well. A smuggler's dock? That's fascinating. I don't think I've ever messed with that. Okay, so we'll put down the trading post over here. This should be big enough. The river is big enough to support that. It shouldn't impact our fishing either, but I will pause it because I don't think we need it just yet. I want to make sure we finish the pasture and the hospital. You know what? And since we have so many laborers now, let's go ahead and go back to maybe cutting down a couple more resources around the outskirts of town. Just to get that next section ready for whenever we eventually decide to move into making the nicer resources. So what we're going to need to do down the road is invest in someone who can... you know what? Let's add one more forester lodger because we don't have that many logs anymore. Our log production is not meeting the demands of our firewood and everything else. But we need to look into the advanced buildings, the ones that let us build these really fancy houses. So if we want to build the colonial house, we need, sorry, not fancy homewares, we just need a normal thing, right? Oh, it is fancy homewares. So we need a fancy homewares supplier. Is it though? I thought it was like just a standard one. There it is. So one of them standard homewares, one of them's building supplies. I believe we're going to be trying to build the colonial townhouse. What about the half house? Also a basic one. Okay, so we'll stick with townhouses, and colonial half houses for a bit. And then we'll move into, we'll kind of intersperse some of these colonial homesteads here and there. But we need homewares and building supplies in order to make those. So each of those two materials require two more raw, I guess, or another production chain. So the homewares, I think, is furniture and something else. So we'll need to look into that probably a couple more episodes down the road. I do want to make sure we're stable and we're continuing to expand our population and meeting the demands for food. We're just now finally getting over the hump on food, it looks like. But as we have more children, as our population continues to grow, we need to make sure we stay on top of it. So I'm a little bit, I think I'd really like to, that's why I want to get into the farming hardcore, because that's going to let us, that should, I hope, produce a lot more food for us, even though it's going to be disgusting turnips, you know, such is life. Standard pasture's almost done. Speed things up a bit. I think I can go ahead and also drop in a doctor for the hospital once that finishes to proactively keep people healthy and make sure that we jump on any diseases or anything like a plague or anything crazy like that. Go ahead and drop one in here. So we're back to 2 and 2 in laborer and builder category. That should be fine. We have 2 foresters who are... You know what? Let's bump the log limit up to about 500. Because we're going to be putting a lot more production in this vicinity. So I want them to have a lot of logs to pull from. Did we ever finish this town arrival thing? We did. Oh, we actually can see a ton of stuff here. Awesome. So the overall health of our city is 63%. Everyone's pretty happy, it looks like. 63% of our people are educated. This is an overall job list of all the professions we have. Okay, here we go. This is kind of neat. This is our production versus usage. What about food? We have produced in 1 year 1,500. We've consumed 4,200. Oh, sorry, I didn't look at these two. So we're producing about 2,000 more food than we need. I wonder if you can chart that on a graph. Can we look at food? Hey, nice. This is actually really cool. Citizens' food, there we go. That's, I think, when we put that first fisher person's hut down. And then, I wonder if you can, you can't overlap. It looks like you can't make complicated mixes here. As our overall population continues to increase, you would see a reduction in the food. So you do have to make sure you're countering that expansion with more and more food production facilities. We have pears and llamas. Okay, so they are officially llamas. We could put, you know what? I forgot about that. We have a pear tree, or we have pear seeds. We could put down an orchard as well. Now, are orchards the same type of efficiency? We could do a... Again, trying to find the most efficient layout, I suppose, of how to do these. 5x7 is what the calculators tell me, or 15x4. for an orchard. Alright, so we finally got our pasture done. Let's put in our llamas here, and we'll have one person become a farmhand, a rancher, I suppose. And let's also add down the, while we're doing more food production, let's also add down the orchard, because I think that's going to be really, really important. Dense orchard with 2 times 2. Interesting. Does that make a difference? I guess we'll just do the standard orchard here. What's our next? Okay, so something like this. Okay, 2 times 14 or 4 times... you know what? Let's just match it. Let's just match it. That's fine. It's going to be 8 by 15. Let's just do this for the moment. There we go. We'll see how the orchard does in food production. Oh crap, I wasn't paying attention and we're already short on tools again. But at least we have a blacksmith ready to go. Let's reduce the number of builders and assign someone back to the blacksmithing job. And we'll also go ahead and assign someone over to the fuel job. And I want to increase the iron up to like 500. I want to have a big stockpile of pretty much everything. Okay, so that should hurt us for a second, but we have enough food, I think, and we've got more jobs coming up here that are going to help us out. The way pastures work, by the way, you start out with a certain herd size, and as you get closer to this limit, if you wind up getting more animals than the limit says, you'll harvest them, you'll butcher them. So once we get more than 12 llamas in this pasture, our worker will slaughter the extras, or we could split the herd and put them into another pasture. So that's one way to quickly spin up some other pastures. So that way you can set 2 or 3 pastures to producing, you know, more reproduction, and with the goal of having a bigger population of that creature. So that's one way to do it. Reserve of tools is low. We got it. We have tons of clothing though. I think I'm a little more comfortable now. I'm not as stressed out. I don't feel like we're on the verge of starvation every 3 seconds. So that's a nice change from what we were at. And I think I might wrap up this episode. It's been kind of peaceful. We did expand a little bit into the housing, which is what we wanted to do. I might look into... can we see the age of our citizens from this fancy thing? What about age? This is overall population. Yeah, I can't quite see the ages. I'm curious to see if there's like an elder versus, you know, what have you. Fair enough. Yeah, it doesn't really tell us if there's any seniors here. I'd just be curious to see how close we are to getting the original adults starting to go into the senior track. And once we get there, we'll need to also think about putting down a graveyard and things like that too. I might probably put the graveyard down inside the central area, but maybe think about putting a church nearby it. Like rebuilding another chapel, a bigger chapel. Maybe that old one or the one that needed lumber. Which one was that in comparison? The central church. Wow, that's really big. I mean, that would be kind of cool. Remember, we're gonna have houses on the inner side of... I mean, we could do the outer side, I suppose, the outside of it. It doesn't really matter. I'm putting the wooden houses along the outside of the road just because I wanted the inner side to be used for buildings, but I suppose at the end of the day it doesn't really matter. That would free up some space. We could put the church down and then actually make this little section in the back a graveyard. That would be kind of nice. We'll experiment and we'll mess around a little bit with other options, but thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of Banished. Until next time, take care.